Hi, my name is Dennis King. I'm the president of Working Security in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a cybersecurity consulting and advisory firm helping medium and small enterprises protect intellectual property, trade secrets, and customer data. This video is for the medium and small enterprise, and specifically for technical and executive leadership who are interested in putting together a cybersecurity incident response plan or conducting a test. Now, I am going to use that term a couple different times throughout this presentation, and it's kind of a long and lengthy term, cybersecurity incident response plan team. I'm going to talk about the team, the plan, and the test most of the time. So if you hear me say team, plan, or test, that's shorthand for the cybersecurity incident response part of this. Now, it's worth pointing out that the cybersecurity incident response planning and testing process has been something that large organizations have been doing for quite some time. We have reached a point where insurance companies, regulators, the government, third-party certifiers, et cetera, have started to encourage a lot of other companies, mid-sized and smaller, to do something in this space. So it may have come to you for that reason, or you may have come to your own conclusion that this is necessary, could have come in at the board level, could have happened from a technology level up. There are a lot of reasons to do this. But the good news is this is a process that has been established in the past. The real effort comes into making sure that it fits your organization and your organization's size, because there are plenty of places out there that will point to ridiculously long federal documents that tell you how to do something, and they're almost unusable for a small, mid-sized organization. I help organizations right-size that and make it fit. Simply put, what we're trying to do is look at the potential of a cybersecurity attack on your company and prepare in advance for that effectively and as well as we can, so that if something like that does happen, which is a non-zero probability, but it's probably not a high probability, if you're doing other things, you can avoid these types of incidents in your organization, but not with 100% certainty. So this is for the information technology manager or leader in your organization. This is information I think a board member is more than capable of of jumping into and understanding and helping to drive through an organization. This is information that a technology leader, somebody with a broad view of an organization's technology footprint, could also bring into the organization as well. So the typical engagement, and I'm just going to mention this and move on, is a matter of weeks, but it's not constant activity. There's a lot of communication and development of some assets and the plan itself and things like that. So this is not a large project that takes a mid-sized or small organization months to accomplish, unless you want to really, really, really refine it at that point in time. Anyway, so just a little background on me. I am an engineer, the founder of the company, and I am a certified information systems security professional, a certified ethical hacker, a certified forensic analyst. I am a licensed private investigator in the state of Missouri because it is required in order to do expert witness work that I've done at the state and federal level. And I have relationships with the FBI on a professional level and with with CISA and DHS, and I'm engaged at those pieces. So I work with organizations to take all this mountain of cybersecurity information and ideas and right size it down into their organization in a way that they can use it. The overall goal, and this is the best way I can simplify this, is that if you find yourself in a cybersecurity attack, you're going to be making lots of decisions under stress, and our goal is to minimize a lot of that stress by making some of those decisions in advance and making sure the strongest team you can bring to the engagement is aware of those decisions and your strategy, right? So we want to go from about 80%, 20%, known to unknown to the 95-5 category. We're trying to improve it. There's never going to be an environment where you have everything worked out in advance, and you're always going to have to be flexible in a situation like this. But we're trying to take the stuff that you can plan for in advance, move that off the table into an area where you've already thought through it, and you've got a good idea why you want to do things and how you want to do things, so that for the truly random things being driven by an outside attacker who does not have your interests in mind, you're able to focus the best resources in your organization on solving those problems. Before we go further into the details, I do want to point out the business purpose of this type of incident response team, plan, and test. Now, a lot of people will dive into the technical issues of what it takes to restore a backup or what it takes to stand up some virtual machines or virtual compute resources inside a cloud environment. Those are all part of it downstream, but the purpose of a cybersecurity incident response plan is to minimize the operational, financial, and reputational risks to an organization, or the impact. When something happens to your organization, when you are the victim of a cybersecurity attack, those are the areas that are going to impact the organization's health, its ability to do the business that you're already in. It can impact your ability to conduct business. It can impact your financial health. And most importantly, it can impact your reputational health with clients and partners. So the first purpose of a cybersecurity incident response plan is to minimize the operational, financial, and reputational impact on the organization. The second purpose is to drive a systematic and complete response. And that's important. It is much easier to think about it in advance and achieve a complete response to an incident than it is to do it while you're in the middle of it. The chances of making a mistake while you're under stress, fighting against an unknown adversary or even a known adversary at that point in time are higher if you don't have a plan in place, if you haven't identified the right resources. People will find themselves operating with a lot of kind of confusion, fog of war, if they don't have a basic battle plan in place, and if they don't understand who their leadership is and who's going to help make those decisions at different times and how they're going to be engaged. Third purpose is to do all this quickly and efficiently, right? So you do want to minimize the amount of time you are down. And then the last one is to capture the knowledge from it. So those are the business purposes, right? So there are a lot of technical activities that have to happen under the scenes, and there are a lot of technical resources that are involved in cybersecurity incident response. However, the purposes are to keep the business from being impacted more than it has to be, right? And that's the entire purpose of doing the planning up front, forming the team up front, and then doing the testing. So what are we going to do in this? This is actually a 3-step process. It's not that hard. The first step of the process is to identify the team. And believe it or not, you already have a cybersecurity incident response team. The question is whether you have formally recognized them and let them know that they're on the team. Like every individual within an organization has an idea of who they would call in order to deal with a cybersecurity incident. So that part of the work is actually already started for almost every organization out there. But there's an important critical step in the first part of this to stop and identify who those people are. Now, a lot of those people are going to be inside your organization. A lot of those people are going to be outside your organization. So some of those people are going to be law enforcement, which you may or may not engage depending on certain criteria that are in your plan. Some of those people could be a public relations firm, your counsel, whether they're in-house or outside. When are they going to be engaged? The board of directors, leadership of very specific organizations that are let's say, important stakeholders for certain systems that you're using. So all of those people are on the team as a broad organization. We need to identify them up front and not just identify, oh, yes, there's somebody in that role in the organization. This is a step where we say, this is the name of the person, this is their contact information. We actually nail all that down. And if somebody moves in the organization, it has to be updated, but you need to have that level of detail on your team definition up front. Once you have the team defined, you can move on to the plan. The team is actually part of the plan, so you've already started it as well at this point in time. The plan is where we take what we know about cybersecurity incidents, and unfortunately, we know quite a bit about it at this point in time because it's happened to a lot of organizations. There is a process by which we do the planning up front. We identify when an incident is happening, and we want to have some formal criteria on that so that people don't declare an incident when there isn't one. It's just an issue we're going to solve from a technical perspective, or they do declare an incident and make sure the right people are engaged. And then we go through the process of dealing with the incident through containment and resolution and recovery of the environment and capturing lessons learned. So the plan itself is a formalization of that a little bit. And we don't write the document just for the sake of writing a document, because long documents aren't read by anybody. But what we do is we build a plan that can be socialized within the organization and the team so that everyone there knows there's a reference document that they could go to and understand. The rest of the communication is primarily lightweight. I hate to say PowerPoint, but it's lightweight key points, right? And it's communicated from the right places in leadership to the right people so that they understand they're engaged. Now, there's a side benefit to this that a lot of people don't talk about, which is once you have the team and a plan in place, even if there is no incident in your organization, a lot of organizations see significant benefits because throughout the rest of their year and their daily operations and the rest of their cycle, people recognize how a decision in one area can impact the incident response team, or how they would need to change, let's say, a tool or a system that they decide to implement or need to add something to it to make sure that it fits within the recovery process so that if something does happen, there's an easier path to recover from. So that's important. The last part of this process is the actual test itself, the cybersecurity incident response test. And this is often referred to as a tabletop exercise, and it literally can be that. And this can be as complex or relatively simple in many cases. And if this is the first time you've done one, you probably want to look at this from the perspective of an in-house, around your own conference table type of activity that takes place within, a few hours on a given day. If you've done several of these over several business cycles, whether you're going to do them twice a year, once every 2 years, you may want to make this more complex. Some organizations will take it to the level of having this event take place off-site and removing certain communication methods from people so that they can really react and find out, what do you do when email's gone? What do you do if your phones are compromised, etc. But the earliest version of this, the best way to start it that I advise companies to do, is a tabletop exercise inside the organization. And so those are the three pieces: build your team, build your plan, execute your test. If you are looking at this and you come in at the stage where you say, I just want to execute a test, the first thing someone should ask you is, do you have your team identified? And do they know they're on the team? And do they know what their roles are? Which feeds into, do you have a plan that has the objectives, identifies who the leaders are in this, and gives everybody an idea of how this process should work? And if you don't have those in place, you're probably better served by putting those in place before you do the test itself. You can do this all by jumping in and doing a test. It will be slightly more chaotic, and you may or may not get as much benefit from the process. You can still capture lessons learned. You can still record the information and find out, okay, who made what decision and where. But what you're going to find in those tests, or what other organizations find repeatedly, is that if they don't have the team and the plan identified in advance, they're going to spend a lot of time up front identifying the team while they're being attacked. And then they're going to spend more time in the process making decisions they could have made in advance. And sometimes they find out, and this is the unfortunate part, they won't have something that they need in place in order to do part of the recovery and get back to an operational state. So again, team, plan, and testing. Now, we work with organizations to do this. I hinted at this up front. This is not, depending on the size of your organization and how complex you want to make it, this is not months and months of work. You could do this and make it very refined and go through a lot of details. If your organization is at that level of, let's say, operational documentation and maturity, you can drive it to that level. From a very basic tactical kind of agile approach, this is a process that can go back and forth over the course of a couple of weeks. While I develop costs on a client-by-client basis, what I will suggest to you is that depending on how many people on your team can participate in the process of identifying the team and writing the plan or documenting the plan, it takes more or less of my time to help you do that. I will come in and do all of that for you and merely ask your people the right questions, pull that information together, put it together in a central place, help you plan communications and move those out to your people. Or you can have people who work and do some of that work with me. I don't have a preference on that. I actually think that if there's somebody in-house who already has this on their plate, this is part of their responsibilities, that it is very good to have somebody to work hand in hand with through this process, because it also gives the other people in your organization an internal face that they know. And I can come in and act as an authoritative source to your organization and help people, let's say, listen to the message because of that, because I'm not inside. But you can also balance that with somebody inside who is a known and trusted individual that can say to people, oh yeah, well, we understood that and we talked about that. So again, my name is Dennis King. I'm the president of Working Security here in St. Louis. My contact information will be in this video. I would love to talk to you about this if you're interested in it. If you are already farther down the path and you're ready to do a test, let me know. We can drop in pretty quickly and do a test with you and get you through the test and give you the documentation you might need for an outside third party. If you haven't done the test and you haven't done the planning work or identified the team, we can help you do that pretty quickly as well. I look forward to talking to you. Thank you very much.